This video is a bit of a warning that we might be approaching a bit of a pullback in the shorter term as the lower time frames have been a little bit overextended for the time being. We have gone up in a big way in Bitcoin and in altcoins over the past few weeks. So I want to warn you a little bit to be careful not to FOMO into anything that is just massively pumped. The fear of missing out because you've seen it go up without you and then it pulls back. And you know that's never a nice feeling when you buy the local top. So I want to share with you in the charts what I'm seeing, what I'm looking for, and if we get a pullback, I want to share with you also levels that I'm looking for as a potential entry after we get that pullback, after it clears out all the FOMO, flushes the leveraged longs, that it might be just a way better entry lower down for continuation, because I do believe that after the pullback comes, whenever it comes, that there is more upside and probably even new highs coming after that pullback. If you are not yet subscribed or following my page on Instagram, subscribe down below, follow down below to continue getting future updates. Just a quick warning also, by the end of this year on December 28th, I will be permanently increasing the prices of my VIP membership. It is going from $1997 for lifetime access to $2997, and that is going to be going forward. So the old prices are going up. By the end of this year, there's a 60-day money-back guarantee, but there is a deadline, December 28th. If you want the details, click the link in the description down below. It is all explained there. So this is the Bitcoin chart, the daily chart. You can see over here we have the relative strength index. And what do you see instantly? It just stands out. You know, the green here in overbought on the shorter time frame. It's kind of over here. What happened over here? You can see we pulled back. And yes, we went a little bit higher, but it's a warning sign that we're getting closer, right? So it's not right away, not imminent, but it is a warning sign at this point. So we had that oversold condition over here, just like we had it over here, okay? And then here we got a higher high, you can see over here, but a lower high on the RSI. Here we have a higher high, but a lower high on the RSI. And you can see what happened here. So ultimately, I'm not saying the bull market is over, the bullish trend is over, etc. I do expect us still to go a lot higher in 2024, but I am saying that we might be seeing some sort of pullback here in the near future where we could potentially drop to 40 or 39,000 before continuing higher again, potentially in January. Now let's pull out the CME chart. So this is the futures chart, and this trades like regular traditional finance charts where they are closed on the weekends and they have closing times. It's not open 24/7 like the perpetual and the spot Bitcoin prices are. So what I've shown you here before is it makes these gaps, and when the gaps are made, they tend to get filled. Like you can see all the circled levels over here. This gap, it got filled. This gap, it got filled. This gap, it got filled. So what we have now is we have a gap over here, right? And that level, as you can see over here, I'll draw it for you, is about 39,530. So that lines up potentially with what I just said, a potential correction, a sweep of the late longs, right? So maybe we get that. You know, everyone's getting a bit of FOMO, a bit of euphoria. I'm starting to feel that way. So lower time frames are a bit overextended. So, you know, a nice quick flush, close that CME gap, could potentially set us up for continuation here in January and February. And that would actually line up nicely if we get that correction now before the end of the year, because then potentially in January, hopefully in January, we get that spot ETF approval, which would then send us rocketing higher. Because the theory is now, if it continues going higher up into January, then maybe it leads to a larger correction there. Okay, so I would personally prefer to see that pullback now, maybe 40,000, maybe 39,000, somewhere around there. It would be great to close that CME gap, sweep it, and you know, everyone gets scared. And I do suspect one thing that I've seen also in these previous cycles is that when Bitcoin does this kind of pullback, right? So that's about a 10% correction in Bitcoin. I suspect we can see altcoins really have a stronger pullback, maybe 30, 40, 50%, which then of course would be very scary, blood across the board. But that would give a very good entry point for those of you who are prepared. Now again, there's no guarantee that we get it, but at least if we get it, that you are prepared, that you're not overextended with leverage, that your stops are in place, and when you lose, you within risk management, 1% per position. But if it does drop, then you are prepared for a potential entry level. Now let's take a quick look at Ethereum that hit 2400 today. That's pretty nice to see actually. It hasn't been there since early 2022. So that's quite an impressive move. And you can see ETH has made a really big move from here, 1500 to almost 2500 here without much of a correction. Now what is possible if we do correct, and what I'd like to see in this specific instance is that we pull back to retest this breakout level over here that we broke out, right? So if we get that pullback to over here, maybe something like this would be ideal. And you'd look for an entry maybe somewhere around that level, a little bit below it, something like that. So somewhere between 2160 maybe and 2060, somewhere around there, I think might make a good opportunity for a potential long. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see when it gets there what the lower time frames look like. But you can see that would be quite a dip, $200 or $300 pullback. Again, that would be something similar to 10 or 15% in Bitcoin, in Ethereum, if we get that. And then maybe altcoins, like I said, might actually pull back quite a bit more. Let me show you some examples there. So let me run you through a couple of altcoin charts. They all look very similar, so I'm just purely giving this as examples. You can go through the charts yourself and look for the setup. So what I'm seeing on a lot of these altcoins is that this is a daily chart. The specific one is One Harmony. And what we're seeing here is a bearish RSI divergence. You see it made the high over here, then it made a higher high on the chart, but the RSI did not confirm, as you can see over here. And that is a bearish RSI divergence, which has the potential to be hinting at a short-term pullback over here. Now again, I do not think that this is the end of the bullish trend. I do think we see a lot more upside in 2024. But if we do get the scenario what I just explained, where Bitcoin pulls back 10 or 15%, we can expect altcoins to probably do more than that, and maybe 20, 30, 40%. So what I'd be looking for on a pullback would be something like sweeping these lows over here, right? So maybe it does something like this, it pulls back very quickly, it does something like this, and then continues a lot higher. That is kind of my expectation, and that's why also I kind of have the setup drawn over here, that in case we do get that pullback, that would give me a much better entry with a stop at the lows, targeting that continuation. And, you know, if you're trading here, that's a 1 to almost 5 risk reward, meaning if you bet $100 on the specific trade in the setup, if you get stopped out, you lose 100. But if you're right, you make 500, similarly to whatever amount you put in. If you put in 1,000, you're risking 1,000 to make 5,000. So that's a very good risk reward setup. Now, as you can see also, if you measure this pullback, if that were to happen, you can see over here, that is a 36% pullback. So if Bitcoin does 10 to 15%, I would be looking at a lot of alts to do anywhere between 30 and 50% potentially, which is of course quite a hit in the short term. But if this does play out as I expect it to, then I'm looking at a lot more upside potential in 2024, because I do expect that this bullish trend continues until of course we get invalidated. But for now, my theory is still we are going to go a lot higher in the next 6 months or so. And let's continue to follow that. But short term, there could be this pullback, and I just wanted to alert you to the fact that you are prepared for it, that you are not over leveraged for it, and that if you are somehow still sidelined or feeling FOMO, you know, consider the possibility of us being somewhere a little bit overextended, and maybe within the next few weeks, we get that pullback on altcoins 20, 30, 40, 50%, which would obviously give a better entry, because it means you would get more coins for the fiat currency that you put in, or the USDT that you put in, and ultimately it's just a better setup. If you enjoy this kind of analysis and you want to learn how I read charts and how I share these setups and how I predict these charts and movements in advance, come and join us inside VIP. I have a full 50-lesson trading course that explains all these concepts, how it works, and on top of that, you get to join Discord with myself and more than 2,000 VIP members, where I'm sharing these kind of charts literally on a daily basis. Real-time setups, real-time trade ideas, coin research, updates, answering questions of members personally every single day. So if you want to learn, if you want that edge, you want that mentorship, come and join me in VIP. The link is in the description down below. Prices increase permanently on December 28th, so you're still getting it at a good price before it increases, and you have a 60-day money-back guarantee. So worst case, you sign up, you decide it isn't for you, you get access to everything, you just simply email support. Within 60 days, you can get a full refund. But the price increases December 28th. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the inside.